Mm.
So one of the roles that they began to play was they're there for you. They're one of the signs. They're like your spirit team, your angels. They've got your back. And they're available to talk to you. They're available to cheer you on. They love to surprise you with the signs. So one of the things is sometimes people say, well, how do I know if they're there? Right? We can get into that a little bit. But what role do they play? They play many roles. They play unlimited roles. They might just be kind of quietly letting you know that they're with you at the time of their anniversary, at the time of a birthday, a special graduation or wedding, leading up to their birthdays. Sometimes we as us humans here in the physical can feel really, sad or grieving them for a very long time. And they may just, want to be here to let us help with our grief. They play just multiple roles.
Welcome to a Broaderlenspodcast. The opinions expressed on Broaderlenspodcast are those of the guest speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of the host or Broaderlenspodcast. Colleen, welcome to Broaderlenspodcast. What an honor to have you on.
Thank you for having me here. I'm very excited to see you and be in your presence and connect with the viewers today and hopefully bring them some beautiful value that they can take home.
The way I usually start is I'm going to have you sing a song. So I'm going to pick a song and then you start to sing it and then we'll go from there. Is that okay? No, I'm just playing. I was messing around.
I'm running out the door now. If you said dance,
It's
that could
different.
be, but not singing.
No, but before we get started, maybe you could share a little bit about who you are and the things and what you do briefly, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And again, I'm just overjoyed to be in your beautiful presence. You're such a
Thank
gorgeous
you.
soul. Hi, everybody. I'm Colleen Wynia, spiritual intuitive guide, mentor, transformational healer, breathwork facilitator. Those are sort of the titles. But ultimately, what I've been guided to do at this point on the journey is I've been guided to, I'll look down at you. It's sort of funny. Hey, we were talking about that. I'm guided to really support people in now helping them learn to trust their own GPS system, their internal intuitive brilliance or intuition, you might often say, and support humans, women particularly, though I've worked with some tons and tons of men, navigate grief, loss, feelings of self-doubt, unworthiness, those little nooks and crannies that are kind of stuck in behind of us through honoring your intuition. That's really already the answers are right there. So helping you work through past trauma for the purpose of leaning into awakening your channel as an intuitive, as a channel, as an emerging spiritual leader who's on her or his next path. And it takes different forms. And we can chat about that.
Yeah, thank you. When we were discussing, we were having a discussing on kind of what we're going to do and talk about the other day. You mentioned about losing some loved ones, and during that process, it helped lead you to the work you do today, which is spiritual, intuitive, and transformational healer, right?
It's probably the easiest format to express the work. Yes, absolutely. The inner, the outer, the channel, but like working at that deep cellular level as well, so that we can really shine our shining star that's already here in our through our heart.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd love for you to touch on that and share your experience and your stories with how that all came about with losing loved ones.
I'd love to. I was in the mainstream world and I was in my late 20s. And there was a time in my life where we'll just back up a bit. I always had this question in my heart, like, what happens when you die? It was just like, I would look up at a mountain when I was a little girl. There's this big, mountain ranges where I live. And I'd be like, what's kind of very naive here? I'd be like, what's on the other side of that mountain? I mean, it was the craziest little girl thing. I was like, didn't know that the mountains just continued for the longest period of time. But I equate that because I always had this what happens when you die. So when I was in my late 20s, I experienced and discovered that my cousin, Rob, who was like my brother, we were both 25. He was diagnosed with cancer and it was quite serious where it turned it into throughout his body. His and my father, same thing. My father was diagnosed with cancer. So as these two were walking the path, I was very close to them. And it really inspired me first to find out about how do you help people in these places? How do you support them along the ride? And of course, I'm very interested in, learning about natural remedies that could support them in living longer. I didn't want them to die because to me back then, I was still like, what happens when you die? Fast forward through the journey of 2.5 years where my cousin transitioned, 6 months, my dad, both two types of cancer. Afterwards, the grief naturally surfaces and it was horrendous. Many of you can attest to that. What was so weird and interesting was my loved ones around me who were close to them were also grieving, and I was. But then I started to recognize what I call their presence. So there were these sensations that they were around me. There were these signs. And it was these signs that started to speak loudly to capture my attention. So just give you one example to get the ball rolling here in this piece of information, as because everyone loves the stories, right? We're storytellers. Right? We don't remember, was it facts tell, stories sell, right?
Mhm.
So my cousin, I'll kind of explain a little bit too here. He was very highly electric. Okay. So he was a young guy. Yeah. So, young guys like more energy, but he was so electric. He'd kind of like bounce into a room and you'd kind of feel when he was there, and he was a skier and a partier, and, he just like all the things as a young guy. And so that's how I test to him, highly electric. So when he transitioned, um, the second way that he connected with me, he started to show me he was around. I was like grieving, and I'm also later learned that I wasn't just grieving the loss of them. This is a process that it took me about 10 years later to understand, and we can get into that later. But when I was grieving, I learned I was grieving parts of me. This is how my work got started. So to answer your question, part of it got started through the loss of loved ones. Then I started to experience signs from my loved ones who were wanting to communicate with me. I didn't know what was going on. So one of the things that happened, because you see, the mind is questioning. It's like, is this really happening? And I actually went looking for it because I saved it, but I recently moved this past year and I couldn't locate it before our call. But I had this clock radio. It was a plug-in original clock radio, was a digital screen. And the second way that my cousin communicated with me was one morning I woke up to the clock radio. I always listen to 95.3 FM, and it was playing, but the volume was super loud. I'm living alone. I wake up to my radio station, the volume's loud. And naturally, my human thought, I guess I bumped the volume button. Turned it down, went through the day, went to work, all of that. I was in the lumber industry. So I went from the lumber industry to the wellness industry, selling lumber to, selling, I'm kidding, selling vibration and frequency. And the radio station was loud again the next morning. This happened 3 mornings in a row. It was loud. And through each day, what happens is the impressions are put into you, right? You start to kind of like feel, wait a minute, this is weird. Maybe I'm not making this up. And then Rob's energy pops in. Now, electricity is electrical, it's frequency. So later I, began to put this all together. And what secured, I was thinking it was Rob. I was getting impressions it was Rob. It was, or like, I felt like he was speaking to me. There were messages coming through, but nothing confirmed it until the fourth morning. This time, the volume was not only loud, it was on a completely different radio station. And it was Chinese. So derange the, yeah, but it was like, like it was like this Chinese conversation or singing. I can't remember what it was, but I did not know the language. And all of a sudden, there was this download in the body, and it just went, I got it. Rob, I will not doubt myself. It's you. Wow. So this is just like at the beginning of how, we started to communicate.
I'd love for you to expand on because you use the term spiritual cheerleaders, and I
Ah,
love that.
yeah.
What role does our loved ones play in the spirit world that
Hmm.
we may not be aware of?
I can only speak, obviously, from my experience and the experience that many of my clients, family, community have also experienced, perhaps for them. So I let everybody know that what comes through each of our perspectives is unique to you. That's the first thing I just want everybody to know. This is not, written in stone. This is what's happened to me.
Hmm.
So one of the roles that they began to play was they're there for you. They're one of the signs. They're like your spirit team, your angels. They've got your back. And they're available to talk to you. They're available to cheer you on. They love to surprise you with the signs. So one of the things is sometimes people say, well, how do I know if they're there? Right? We can get into that a little bit. But what role do they play? They play many roles. They play unlimited roles. They might just be kind of quietly letting you know that they're with you at the time of their anniversary, at the time of a birthday, a special graduation or wedding. Leading up to their birthdays, sometimes we as us humans here in the physical can feel really, sad or grieving them for a very long time, and they may just want to be here to let us help with our grief. They play just multiple roles. They help remind us that we're not broken. They help remind us that they remind us that we're good. This is just coming through to me right now. They remind us that we're good. We're not bad. Like we're so harsh on ourselves sometimes about carrying guilt. They come in a lot because people feel really guilty sometimes after their loved one passed away. They didn't do enough to save them. They didn't do enough to help, with ideas or to support. They didn't see them before they died. Um, I'm jumping around a little bit here, but like some of the loved ones even transition. I've had a lot of experience with this too, where our loved ones choose to transition on their own. They actually choose it. They wait for you to leave the room. They wait for you to go for lunch. Or they choose to be with you. Like my cousin Rob, the same gentleman I'm speaking of, I watched his body, his soul. Well, there's a saying I heard. Originally, I'm thinking we're in a physical body and our soul is leaving the body when you transition.
Hmm.
And but I heard a gentleman, a spiritual teacher, I just can't remember where I heard it, and it made sense. But he's like, as we're actually, I can't remember how to say it now. So we'll just sort of leave it like that. But they do many things where they really let us know we're there and they guide us. And you can talk to them all the time and call them in.
Was that what did that spiritual teacher say? A soul with a body, but rather than a body with a soul?
Say that again. A soul with a body. Yeah, pretty much like that. That's the words I was looking for. Thank you. You've heard it as well. Yeah, and that resonates really true.
Yeah, Wayne Dyer taught me that.
I love.
Along with my experience, you mentioned signs, and I wanted to share something with you. I remember when I was younger, my brother-in-law got shot in the head, right? And we
Mm.
ran around the streets where we grew up. I always say to join a gang, it doesn't mean you want to be a bad person. You join a gang to feel loved and want to be a part of and feel like a somebody. Well, we did that when we were younger, right? And my brother-in-law was just a great guy, had a huge smile, was always, just a beautiful human being. But he grew up with a neighborhood where they wore a lot of blue, right? His favorite color was blue. He had a blue Cadillac, Dallas Cowboy fan. He was his favorite color was blue. But anyways, he got shot in the head, and his last words was, "I have a daughter." Um, he was trying to become a fireman. He was a paramedic. He was still in his uniform when he died, and some guys happened to walk by, and they ended up shooting him in the head because yeah, because of the just stupidity. But anyways, I went to see a psychic medium in Cincinnati at this big conference, right? Psychic conference, and all the people I wanted to see, they were all booked for hours. So I walked by this one little booth and no one was around. It was a husband and wife, and I asked the lady, something told me to ask her if I can get a reading with her. Anyways, I got a reading with her, and I wanted to talk to my father, but she says someone keeps trying to come in, and it was my brother-in-law. She described him. I go, oh, that's my brother-in-law. She goes, he wants you to tell he says thank you, and he wants you to tell his daughter something. And so she explained to make a long story short, he said, tell her to tell his daughter to watch out for blue jays. And I thought that was no coincidence. Blue, right? Blue jays. Um, and my niece she lives in Torrance, California, and you don't just see blue jays out of nowhere. And about a month later, I get some text messages with numerous pictures, and it was blue jays in her backyard. And he wanted to know whenever there's a blue jay, he's trying to show her he's there.
Yeah.
And I thought that was beautiful. And then of course my sister, who's she's a hardcore Christian, I'd like to say, and she scared her saying, "That's devil, don't listen to that stuff." And then that experience went away. It was like it was gone. It was no longer happening now. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool that happened.
It's very cool, and what a very precious gift. And that presence of that particular sign that's being used it's just used long enough to really cement your belief and
Mm.
feeling the presence and the message, whatever it was that was needed for you at the time. Wasn't that great? Wasn't that a great validation? I have thousands. I mean, it's retaining information in my body as as an open spiritual intuitive and channeler of guidance. It doesn't retain all the time, but one of at all actually. But I do get impressions of what I need to speak on. And as you were talking about the blue jay, of seeing so many experiences of like hummingbirds, and that's really really big. And hummingbirds, I've literally had clients of mine who've been through grief and loss, and hummingbirds seem to be a really really big sign where they'll just gather around, and my client who I supported through one time, her daughter would be the indicator of the hummingbirds to windows, tapping on the windows on the
Yeah.
other side of the hospital when loved ones are
Wow.
going to be transitioning. Yeah, yeah. My dear friend, her son came and told me his experience, right, so that he could, uh, find the peace within around his father's transition and help him continue on. Just so many beautiful experiences. Yeah. Something you mentioned was interesting, but I'm going to relate it to my sister. My sister Corrine as well. After those two loved ones transitioned, how I kind of got into my work more is I lost many more due to illness, due to addiction, due to suicide, and about 12 beloveds on average, like a lot. And it seemed like I was losing someone every year. I mean, I was just crying. I remember for 2 years, I was just, on the floor in front of the couch, crying every second day. And I thought I was grieving all my loved ones, but I learned that grief was actually related to my inner trapped experiences that hadn't quite, been released in the body yet. That's how I've helped a lot of people through energy work and body work to kind of release it through the body so we can, come to our truth. that we are love and feel the peace inside. But my sister, a fun little thing is, my mom never believed in signs before. And when Corrine passed away in 2006, I believe, like coming on 19 years, she is mischievous. So how you could relate, Rob was electricity. So he loves, my cousin Rob is electric being. So he often relates it to radio stations, lights, street lamps, all things frequency, computers. My sister is mischievous. She was the one who struggled with alcohol that I spoke to you of in the video where I spoke about both your journeys, actually. And she was a rebel and mischievous to grab attention. That was her way. So she still to this day loves to play with the hooks in the bathroom shower curtain. Now, I know in our mental consciousness, we're like, hooks. If you have a shower curtain that actually has hooks, yeah, we know they can come off, and people think, oh, it's just you pull a shower curtain with a pretty liners and it will, it can come off. But what she does is not only does you walk into the bathroom sometimes and the shower curtain was just fine, but she pops up when she feels our heart, when she feels us sad, when she feels us a bit overwhelmed with something going on in life. And so I was there on the weekend with my mom just recently, and Corrine visited like twice, twice to me and twice to her. And in the same bathroom, in the same shower hooks, we replaced them and then they were back off again and intertwined. I have stories about that. So just not to go on that, but just really just welcome all those beautiful signs that come in different forms.
Yeah, thank you. Is there like a limited time frame to connect with them, or can you connect it? Have you connected with your loved ones this whole lifetime since they've been gone?
In my experience, they're a presence. They're a soul. Our soul continues, and so I do believe that it's true. Like when you go to have like a specific psychic medium reading, because that it'll be like, I want to hear, say you want to hear from your brother, but
Mm.
say that wasn't the message that was coming through. The medium or that, the channeler that's receiving the information is going to speak to you. You're going to receive that which your soul needs the most. So on one hand, you may be seeking information, but my experience is their actual presence is always there. There are some people who teach and experience that there's a maybe kind of a limited time, or there's a crossover time, or I don't know. I can only speak on my experiences that maybe it's linked to multidimensional lives, and they can continue. Their soul has left like an impression on you. It's like kind of like they're part of your team. They're part of your life experience, whether alive in body or not. It's like your ancestors. You can connect to your ancestors who've passed away, even if you didn't know them. And these are the things that we're actually healing as women, as men right now. Like those conditioned, why you acted out as a boy as you did, the experience you grew up in, the experience that I grew up in as well was not easy. There was alcohol, there was a little bit of violence at times, there was non-emotional, presence. We may have been taken care of in housing ways and things like that, but the heart didn't always feel it. So there's many things I went through as well.
What's your take on reincarnation? Do you believe like we can reincarnate?
You're asking someone who believes in unlimited possibilities. Like,
Mm.
I may not always act it out in my egoic life. I may fall into my victim or victimese, as you would say. And I find myself that. But in terms of reincarnation, like I do, I mean, I haven't transitioned from this human beingness to totally experience yet, but I do believe it. I do believe I've had multiple lifetimes. I do believe that there's multiple parts of ourselves at the same time. There's probably another Colleen. It's just there's lots of us. I would just say, yeah, I totally do. What's your experience? What do you believe?
For me, yeah, I've always felt like I lived in different lives. I don't know if they're all one life, different lifetimes all at once happening, or is it, do we reincarnate, or we just have many incarnations? Yeah, but it definitely, I don't believe in the old kind of religious belief where you're just one life, you're either going to heaven and hell.
Yeah.
So yeah, that doesn't make sense to me anymore. Never really did,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and it definitely doesn't actually when I think about it, because I've met beautiful humans and have had so many client experiences where it'll be like they have a brother.
Mm,
Let's say, yeah, they have a brother, and then they meet another human, or it could be their loved one or their partner, and it just seems like there's a similarity with them where it's almost like that they're the same human. Or a dog, you maybe heard of like animals, right? Our fur babies are excellent because our fur babies will come in, or they're newborns, and it'll be like, whoa, this soul seems so much like that one. So I'm not speaking from just my specific experience, but like I work with a ton of clients who have had so many things where they've felt like someone is over here, and came back through in a different form. So highly, I believe in it.
yeah.
I can't add to it, but I agree with it. I believe in it.
So you brought up clients, and I would love to have you expand on like what kind of work do you do with your clients? If say someone's listening right now, suffering with grief, how do you work with them? I know everyone's different. It's not but maybe you could share a little about some of the work you've done with your clients and your experience.
Sure, absolutely. I'd love to. In my experience today, I mean, I work very deep with humans in a way. I work, one to one with them in private sessions, and I created a beautiful space for them to be inside. Crystallize Your Vision, which is a beautiful space to help you ignite your, navigate grief, loss, self doubt, and ignite your intuition, your clarity. I mean, how I work with them over the years, how it got started is when I went through the loss of the loved ones and went through my own absolute breakdown. I call it my first spiritual awakening, where I just went through the dark side. I joined a program called Shambhala Trainings and worked with a beautiful soul whose Sanskrit name was Tirtha. His first name is actually Philip. And this man and the beautiful community that I was with changed my life. We dove into all of these practices that many, many people now lead programs in. And we did one of the most powerful techniques that I got out of it was rebirthing somatic breath work. Rebirthing somatic breath work. So when I worked my layers through this program, and I I learned I can't even express it all. Like I learned back then we were talking about now we talk about human design. Back then we were learning the Enneagram. We were sitting in our whole group would sit in geometric shapes. We would feel the energy of a circle. We'd feel the energy of a line. We would do war activities. Anyways, let me get it to your point, but this experience where we just emoted out, and we really had to learn to claim our responsibility of ourselves, and we had to really kind of look inside. What I took away from this incredible 3.5 year release program and practitioner training was the power of the breath. So when I started with my clients years back, and for those who are listening, I still help people online in this perspective. I would take them through this breathing technique with my intuitive coaching combined, and bringing you through a powerful breathwork experience, but also having the support, merging those two. Like many people will be online taking a breathwork class, but you really need that, support team behind you and that guidance. And when you do the one to one or the small group with the support, it's incredible. So the breathwork has been the key in how my business got started. It later went into this more into the somatic, which was integrating the body to the next level. of massage and touch and energy healing. So by bringing all of those components together, we were able to help them tap into what's inside here. And my other hand is on my tummy, like really into the chakra energy centers, and let them emote, let the humans, allow and accept what's in your body to come up. So you work through a ton in your life, for example. So if there's anything that needs to come up where you're going through an experience and there's old anger, old trauma, or old sadness, we all carry it ongoingly. We just meet it, we help bring it up, and then clear that with ourselves. So that's kind of like the deep dive work. I also do spiritual channeled coaching with some, I wouldn't call them readings, but you can kind of call them readings. I help you dive in to connect with your ability to trust yourself, to look for the signs, and to help you work through something that's where you're feeling stuck, where you're grieving, where you want to move forward in your life, but there's like a block. So we could call that spiritual coaching with intuition. And then well, see, as that was sort of like the past journey. So now when humans work with me, we can do it in one-to-one online, and then we can do it in my powerful program that I've really loved getting started a little bit ago.
I had a quick question on breathworks. Going back to breathworks, I had a quick question on breathworks. Is there like a technique we can use on a daily basis when life gets really hard? I mean, it gets chaotic at times. It's really gets a little crazy inwardly, and we start to feel a little bit of anxiety or fear or just feel stressed. What can we do just to get that, go to that sacred pause and just get more heart centered and get back to the present moment where life really is?
Where life really is. That's powerfully said. Yes, let's do that. Let me show you, and we can even do this together.
Okay.
There's a couple different breathwork approaches. And the one to calm your nervous system is a little bit different than the somatic deeper work, but it's about integrating. So I would do this. Let's do this together. When you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, even fearful, totally disconnected, the easiest way to start to calm and regulate your nervous system is inhale and outhale breath through your nose. So inhaling through your nose to the count of 4 or to the count of 5. So we're going to slowly breathe in through our nose in a moment here. We can do it together and bring it up to, we'll keep it easy. We'll say to the count of 4. If you just draw it out longer, it'll help you calm down. And then on the exhale, you're going to sort of hold it briefly at the top. So holding it briefly, kind of here or up here, and then let it go slower. So make the exhale count longer. So if you're going to breathe into the count of 4, exhale to the count of 5 or count of 6. And as you do some cycles of that actually is one of the most powerful ways to bring high energy people, overwhelm, particularly athletes who are, on the go with their body all the time, or you're in the screen of the computer all the time, creators, empaths who are feeling energies from all over the place. That's a quick exercise you can do. So breathing into the count of 4 together, you put one hand on your belly. If you have your hands free, if you have your hands free, you can put, your right hand on your belly, your solar plexus, your power center, your creative center there, and maybe one hand on your heart. And you can breathe in into your heart and bring it up to your head if you choose to, or just in and out to your heart. Belly, heart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale to the count of 5 slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once it feels released, breathe in again. Boo boo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just kind of drawing you a bit long. So you can also hold it at the top. And as you hold it at the top a little bit longer before the exhale, it builds the energy, kind of like just kind of fills you up. So you can sneak a breath in at the top if you want. Hold it. I actually do this every morning before I kind of really get started. And if I'm feeling overwhelmed, out of sync, I'll do the in and out through the nose a bit longer. I'll just do cycles. So, if you're doing it right now, just, do 3 or 4 cycles, 5 cycles. You'll be feeling so much better. If you're feeling like there's a lot here, you can exhale at the end through the mouth if you want. Ah, with a sigh. You could also do those, right? So there's also exhaling through the mouth with a sigh. For my clients who work with me in a longer call or in our program, I teach the power of the somatic breath where you combine them. You combine the nose to start out with to calm and regulate your nervous system. But for beautiful souls who want to help release trauma that may be stored in the cellular body and you're reacting outward in your old patterns and conditions, reactions and fears, like, or you're treating someone and you're catching yourself. The power of the breath with like a 45-minute breath work or even 20-minute breath work is in and out through the mouth. You asked me how to calm. That's how to calm is through the nose. To go deeper is and that simple breath of breathing in belly, heart, belly, heart. Believe it or not, in the being supported through it, it helps. It's best to have someone to support you when you first get started with this, because things will come up in the body, in your feelings, and your thoughts. There's a whole bunch of things that will help you break through old patterns and create neural pathways so you don't repeat the past over and over again.
God is the breath inside the breath. Doesn't breath mean spirit?
Actually, I'm breath. Vital. I want to say yes, like it's the life force energy. Another term for this conscious breath work for some, there's people will talk about pranayama, they'll talk about Wim Hof and things like different kind of people's approaches. I was originally trained back in the rebirthing one, which was the active in and out through the mouth. And that breath work really was the one that kind of really moved things out of you, but it brought up a lot. It'll bring up stuff. But yeah, conscious connected breathing, it's your life force energy and the breath of life. It's life.
So you ever catch yourself saying, that guy's an idiot? And then you go back to your breath, your breathing.
Oh yeah. Colleen, you're speaking to yourself. And whatever we project out is really, how I'm feeling about myself.
You brought up a Enneagram. Does that help have understanding of people's behavior, understanding people's enneagrams? Like I think mine, I'm a 5. Uh,
It was so, yes, it does. All of these are tools. These are tools that maybe I tapped into a little bit. I don't remember all of the Enneagram, but
yeah,
when I do remember, I have the book on my shelf in the other room there. But when we were studying it, we actually learned that there was 1 or 2 that we could be, and we can swing. It's like a lot of things. We can kind of take on a couple of different.
like a 5-6 or 5-4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I think
yeah.
I'm forgetting now. It was a 5-7 or 7. Like it would. I forget what the numbers match the names right now. I'd have to open the book, but like, yeah, definitely. We take on different roles at different times in our lives too.
Yeah, I think it's probably better to understand that with family members because you ain't gonna know everybody's number and whatever. But when you can understand that with family members and how they behave and or react and stuff like that, it probably gives a little bit more understanding, which understanding leads to a little bit more compassion and a little bit more loving and more kind with some other behaviors because you have that understanding. At least for me.
100%. It brings in a more compassion too when we can see, kind of put ourselves in another person's shoes and we can understand and not react as much,
Mhm.
to the thing that's happening. Uh, there was a thought that was coming in that you inspired inside me a minute ago. Tools. I was going to say, follow where you're guided. It's just like the books on your shelf. Like when you meet someone and they spark your interest in the subject matter, or you go online, or you in the old days you walk in a bookshelf, right? A bookstore, I should say, and a book sort of falls out at you. Like just trust it. So I'm an educator of trust. That's really, people come to me to help trust themselves more, love themselves more, eliminate the self-worth and doubt, and help their bodies feel good, help their hearts feel good. But when it comes to tools, like you can learn about the gene keys, you can learn about human design. Back in that was 1997, 99, when we were 2000-ish, when I was learning about Enneagram and, I don't know, a whole bunch of different things. And follow what works then. Now human design is something that really can help you. I'm not an expert in that. There's incredible teachers. But when you learn a little bit about your natural human design based on your birth date, it's really cool because it helps you monitor yourself and love yourself in the work you do. And it teaches you how different you are.
Thank
Like
you.
like not different as in, like yours. We're all special in our own way, but I mean like how to operate with your natural innate beingness is going to make our lives so much better.
How would you define trauma? And
Mm.
how does early childhood trauma affect us in our adult life?
Well, it affects us hugely if it's not been dealt with. You know, um, I'll give you an example here. I've got many people I've worked with. Back in years ago, a number of years ago, maybe I think it was about 10 years. I've been in practice helping clients for about 22 years now. And it was about 10 years ago. I had a home studio and I had gifted some gift certificates for massage I donated to an event. And this lady won my gift certificate. And so she came to my home for a massage. But I always interview my clients, whether we're on the phone, the Zoom, or back in the day, they're sitting in the studio. We would talk and I would dive in. You've come to me for a massage. So tell me about that. Tell me what's going on in your body. Tell me what's going on in your life. Or I would just kind of open the door to allow them to express what's really going on for them. So this one client came to me for a massage, but when she learned the other work I do, that was a little more about, in a counseling type of way in her mind, counseling and supporting yourself through change, navigating through change. She said, and it led to a bit of a bodywork session, but it also led to integrate the breath work. It was kind of a combination session. And when she was on my table, my intuition, um, picking up the quantum energy that I could feel in her body that I would, as I was supporting her. So I'm like moving my hands like this because we were, doing work together. I got the message that she had been abused sexually as a child. Now, this woman at the time was older than me. She was in her 50s. And I had to sort of check with spirit and say, is it appropriate for me to bring this to her attention or to ask her if I may deliver it? It was like a call. I had to kind of really She didn't come to me for this particular deep experience.
So you had an
So
inner knowing? I'm sorry.
yeah,
It just
that's where
came to
I'm
you?
going.
Wow.
This is how I work. So my specialty is just getting the sense, getting this inner knowing.
Mm.
Exactly. And this you probably heard of, like, as you're learning about your intuition, the clairs,
Mm. Yeah.
the different, yeah, the
The
different
Claire
ways.
Bears?
Well, yeah, like clairaudient, clairsentient, yeah, all of the clairs. So one of my biggest clairs is an all knowing, just like boom, it's just there. I call it the download.
Mm.
It's information, or it's something, or it's capital words, letters. Anyways, we can talk about that. But this, I was with this woman supporting her, initially coming for a massage, later realizing she had some deeper work that she had not addressed, but she didn't know this. She's on the healing table, and I say, at the right time, I checked in, and she was starting to kind of feel what she's been holding on to, but she didn't know what it was. And I, in a loving way, I said to her, have you been, or do you remember being, uh, you know what? I don't remember the words that came through at the time, but I trust spirit guided me in the appropriate message. But basically, it was to inquire about, to confirm that she had been sexually abused. And I said it in the, the appropriate way that came through. And she was like, she immediately started welling up with emotion,
Wow.
shaking, vibrating. I had hit a point. And that's when you know the truth is inside of you. And she had never, so I said to her, what happened? She emoted it all through. I supported her through it. And she goes, how did you know? How did you know? I never told anybody. I said, you never seen a counselor? You never told a friend? Never. And that happened when she was little. How did you know? And I said, your body spoke to me. Your quantum energy told me. I just knew. So that was a huge validation of, I'm just getting emotional, of when I think about the lives that have actually, my presence, even if I discount myself as a, that's my childhood issue, right? I don't believe in myself, low confidence, all of these things has been my thing. So I've been brought onto the planet to help others through their not believing in themselves, because I'm here to learn that for me. So what's been challenging for me is also my best healer, and what do you call it? The teacher in me is supposed to express that. But yeah, it was amazing. And she just was blown away. And this has happened to me many times over the years. And this is what I do with people, just a sense.
Do you think did she block that out, that memory, and you brought it back to
Um,
surface or
Actually, I believe, I'm trying to remember the session. I believe that she had remembered it. Yeah. Actually, in this particular case, I believe she knew it, because she said to me, she goes, how did you know? I never told anybody. So in her situation, she was aware. She just had always kept it inside. However, to kind of relate to what you just said to me, one of my clients that worked with me one to one a little bit, and then she joined Crystallize Your Vision, which is designed to help you. Uh, we can touch on that, but the 5 point star approach and how I support people to illuminate their their star within. One of the gals, she has had a lot of trauma. She grew up in the religious, uptake up, impressions of a certain way. She literally has been through a lot at a young age. She was in her late 20s, early 30s, and she still goes through sometimes these levels. But this woman um, was in our program and working closely with me, and over the practices and the things that she did over time, when her soul was ready to speak to her, or she was ready to receive the information, she got her own impression and remembering that her father had molested her. Um, and that was massive, like, to have that, have it not be conscious. for, say, 30 years, and then for it to come up when it was the right timing. It came up at the right time because she had been preparing herself. She'd been growing that part within her. She'd been doing the spiritual work, the emotional healing work, the mental strength. Like she was learning. Yeah, she was ready. I believe when we're ready, things will be brought to us, even if it seems like it's too much.
Yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, but our mind and body have this intelligence, and I think it'll help us shut down those memories to protect us.
Yeah.
But eventually, we got to deal with those, or it'll eventually create other types of disease in our later adult life if we don't remove those energies, heal from those energies, right? Remove them, or how does that all work?
And to address your first part, 1,000%, 1,000%. Um, again, I totally believe they're there to protect us, just like your in your story, for example, in your ability to defend yourself. This is what's coming to me now. As a child, you learned that you didn't get love from home, so you go seeking ways to feel good about yourself in kind of the opposite.
Yeah,
And and you joined, a gang, or had people in your life that may not have felt right, but you felt seen, you felt heard, right? So we do what we need to do until it no longer works for us. And then when it no longer works for us, our consciousness opens, our heart opens. It's the one and the same. Don't would you agree? Like it's one and the same. Like it's the same. Like I'm ready to finally give up my victimness on something. Victimeseness is, you'd say, when I'm ready. But then other times it kind of soothes me. It's weird. Um, Going back, you asked, and there was another part to what you asked me. Um, do we block it? Then there was another something else you said.
I think if we don't deal with those traumas that
Thank
are
you.
stored inside us, can that
Yeah,
create
yeah.
disease later in our adult life?
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, I just yes. That's really what I'm saying. I do what am I saying? I do believe it. I do believe it very much because the body, there's a lot of teachings where you can study even about the body. Let's go back to Louise L. Hay. Way in the day, she was one of the first in my lifetime as a very young woman. She was able to talk about the body part and the metaphysical meaning behind the body. So you can like literally like go on Google, look for your resources properly, and go to people you trust. But looking up parts of what cancer can represent in certain parts of the body, in the woman's female parts, or there's anger inside, and if that anger's inside, it's eating away at you. One of my beloveds, Diane, one of my mentors, Diane, she transitioned eventually from cancer, but she was the most incredible healer, psychic, uh, guide. She was a nurse. She was so many things in her life. She worked really hard and she really pushed her body physically a lot as well. Big heart. She's one of the biggest heart ladies. She's in the hospital and she's loving up everybody, right? Everyone loved her presence. You couldn't do wrong with her. But anyways, back to her journey, she would explain to me, she goes, I really pushed my body and I watched my father be really, really hard on his body because he believed he needed to survive in a certain way in life. Really, really hurt him. So she pushed her body and she did not listen to her body, right? So think of the times where we push through. So this is learning how to trust our body. So as a teacher of intuition and trust, I help people learn how to trust and listen to your body when it's speaking to you, because she did not. And she told me over the years before she transitioned, and she would tell me when I was younger, Colleen, stop pushing so much. Like when we try to push to get something, it's sort of we push it away rather than going to the receiving mode and receiving to allow opportunities to come our way. Yeah, she pushed her body, and so she ended up having cancer, and she really believed that her whole life she struggled with health issues. She got through many cancers, many stomach issues, our tummy. Oh my gosh, digestion of life.
You know, in your website, I was looking at your website, and it's pretty awesome, by the way. Um, you have 10 ways to crystallize your vision that will help you. And I'm not asking you to ask to get into all 10, but do you know one that pops up, a few of them that pop up that can help crystallize our vision to help us?
One of the outcomes, you mean?
Yeah, one of the outcomes to help us um, crystallize our vision. First of all, what does that mean to crystallize our
Yeah.
vision?
Okay. This is where the star comes in now. This
Yeah.
is the easiest way to support. Hi guys. This is my little symbolic 5-point star.
My wife.
Hi. So this is you. This is you. This is you where you want to live this is your shining part and more
Heart
and more.
centered, like heart
Yeah.
centered.
Yeah. 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 If you were on my website, ColleenWynia.com, actually the original URL and business name for over 20 years is heartlinkconsulting.com. So connecting by consulting with your heart. That came to me in a meditation probably about, 25 years ago. So I went, heart link. Later in life, there's a network of women all around the world called Heart Link, believe it or not. I had the URL first. Anyways, back to the star. Like, how can the star support you? So I'll just use this as a symbol so you can, as a visual for you visuals out there. Here you are. Illuminate your heart. Illuminate the star inside of you. So there's 5 points to the star. So, for example, the areas that I support or the program supports or my experience and helping you tap into your inner brilliance, right? Your intuitive brilliance, where you're all knowing, where you remember I said the all knowing, one of the clairs, just kind of like, a download. I got it. The first point on the star is where we start. This is express. So I'll just give you the names of the star points, and then I'll just elaborate briefly. Express, move, prime, align, and monetize. Okay. Expressing your emotional feelings, helping you become emotionally healthy. The very first place I start with all my clients is simple as how are you feeling? And what's, what's hurting you in your life? What are you struggling with? Or, let's use a higher language if you choose to. But when people are hurting, let's just use this word struggle. But we do know that our struggle is our greatest opportunity. So we want to start there because what is hindering us in our heart or in our body? I'm a bodywork practitioner. I've worked on bodies for years since actually I started bodywork. My father was my greatest client. I mean, I started massaging everybody when I was a kid. I would just go up to your shoulders and I would just give you a massage, and you'd be like, "Oh, that's amazing." And and so when I was 16, I kind of thought about, becoming a massage practitioner. And my dad, I'd go out and drive out to see my dad on the weekends and visit him before he passed away too. He was one of my 12. Oh yeah, I mentioned him in the beginning. That's right. So he would say, "Hey, Call, time for my massage." He'd sit down, have dinner, and his back is all sweaty and dirty after being in the garden or out with the horse. And I'm like, "Dad," I'm like, "Ugh, let's wipe your back off." Anyways, he was hilarious. Later, I'll get back on track here. But like in terms of the body, I learned a lot about storing emotion and things in the body. So expressing your emotional. So some of the things that you could look forward to working together is literally allowing yourself to create new pathways by expressing your emotional self in ways that can come up through the breath, that can come up through expressing and being in a supportive community or being seen. I take you through all these patterns to free yourself from pain, basically. Free yourself from pain. part of things that are required to get there, and some of these points on the star will speak stronger to you at different times, and some will be not as needed for you. Maybe you're stronger. Think of the pie of life. I'm just drawing that little circle, the pie of life. And you break it down in some areas of your life, you might be really good in your finances. They're okay, but you're not happy with the work you're doing. You know what I mean? So there's different parts. So the same thing here. Express. We got to see how you're feeling, and this is going to change day by day, month by month, right? So addressing the difficult things that come up. And then it frees. What does it does what does it feel good when you're out of pain? Right? You've been in pain. You've been in a lot of pain, haven't you? Yeah. It frees your soul to be doing the work you love, to be kind in relationships, and to attract things that you want. Second point on the star is move. So how do we get there? How do we free ourselves up? We move: mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. No, physical, spiritual, emotional. Anyway, the four ways of moving. And so I kind of give suggestions to help and guide you through different ideas that you can do to move your body. And as you start to free up, just think of movement. You free up the body, you get it going, you get it moving, you get your breathing, you get movement, you get brain dumping when your brain is overloaded. One of the greatest tools is literally just grabbing a journal, a piece of paper, and just, all the things I have to do, all the things I'm worrying about, all the things, right? So many tools. Moving your body, getting the anger out. I'll kind of just leave these two here. One is brain dumping, or three, breath work. I showed you breath work, brain dumping. And a third one, if you're angry. Okay? Literally grab yourself a pillow from the bed. You can hold it up to your mouth with your hand on the other side of it. So it's, I have a pillow, but it's kind of like you hold the pillow like this, and you just breathe in through your belly, and you just let out a rip-roaring voice. All right? This is deep work if you need it. You can be in the car. You can don't be driving. You can pull the car over, turn the music up, and you can just yell, make a sound, anything. You can, you can go. So tools. Okay, let's get going here. We'll be here all day with you. We'll get you in a little workshop, everybody. Let's join the workshop right now. Featuring Boo Boo. You be my guinea pig first. So press, move, prime. We'll just say priming your body is learning some simple intuitive eating. So learning to listen to your body. I am not a nutritionist. I am not trained in that. But I've been around a lot of loved ones who transitioned, as you know, from cancer. So I really believe in learning to find ways that work for you in less inflammatory foods that make you feel lighter, working through patterns where you're repeating. Maybe one of my clients would be addicted to cannabis, or marijuana for the longest time. And over time, as she was clearing the emotion, doing moving exercises, prayer, meditation, all of it, she started to release the cannabis ongoing, pattern that was with her for so long. One of my male gentleman clients, we did a few breathwork sessions with body work, and he just totally stopped. And he'd been on this product for, taking this, nothing against it. He just was on it for so long, he wanted to change. And he goes, oh my gosh, that deep work we did together through the breath. He's like, I'm not needing it anymore, right? I'm replacing it with what? Your inner light, your inner. So there's different ways to change your eating. And then a line point on the star is connecting with self, source, and others. That's the intuitive part of you, where you learn to open up and trust spirit messages, your guides, your angels, whatever your belief system is. It's about helping you pull that out of you. I love teaching you about all of that stuff and helping you go deeper to teach yourself and believe in yourself. So I'll work just real quickly here. One of the girls, she's super intuitive. And she actually channels for people and gives them readings. But she came to me because her confidence wasn't there to really step into her business. Right. So these are some of the things you can get out of Crystallize Your Vision, is feeling more confident, more grounded, more free, more able to move forward in your practice, ideas coming in, um, connecting with spirit, right? Learning your intuition. And the last point on the star bobo is monetize your creativity. So when you do all of these things, then naturally you become more stepping into the work that you are here to do in a way that meets you, and then it can monetize, your life can monetize sort of through that avenue of leaning into you.
And authenticity
Yeah.
would blossom, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's like, instead of doing work or just doing life in a way that you're accustomed to, you're conditioned to, you think you have to, you're now learning who you truly are. I just did there's a 3-minute video on my YouTube channel. I actually did an interview with this beautiful soul. I think it's about 30 minutes, 20 minutes. We haven't popped that one on my page yet. But if the viewers wanted to visit, it's a young woman from Norway. Was struggling with believing in herself. She didn't have self-belief. She hated life. She literally says in the video, I was hating my life. I was in a codependent relationship. I happened to know she was in a relationship she knew she wasn't meant to be in, but she couldn't get out of it. She didn't know what direction to go with her career, her schooling, everything. She was just freaking out. And in a few months together, actually a few weeks, she was changing already. But in a few months, she totally transformed her whole life around. And she left this 3-minute video where she says, I'm the number one takeaway I got, not only Colleen working with you in our program, you get free, unlimited access to me actually for a lifetime. It's like an ability to actually have like a coach with you or a mentor, someone cheering you on for longer than just, 6 months at this time in this program. But she said, I believe in myself again, and I'm finally living and looking forward to life. And she's just like radiant, this young woman, she's just like all over. She was just, and I was like, wow, this is not the woman who I started working with.
We should have this in our school system, something like this, how to
Yeah.
cope with life skills, how to deal with life and cope with stress and stuff. It's missing. It's missing.
So it's so frustrating. I've heard that so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This like school system is like some of the most incredible humans who are doing work that are like yourself, and so many people that I've learned from. It was life school. It was life school that they learned. It's a deeper experience.
How would you define inner freedom?
Hmm. I can speak to it from my own feeling today. It's probably the easiest. Inner freedom is this ability, I'm hearing the word trust on the biggest level. It's this ability to truly trust yourself, that you are loved, guided, and have within you all that you need. Like, it's a softening into, because I know when I'm not in it. And I want to say inner freedom is like when you know you're not feeling right, you're not feeling calm, you're feeling unsafe. That's like the opposite. So inner freedom is really that ability to just be be seen, be loved, and be soft.
You can go back and talk to little Colleen, little girl,
Mm.
little 8-year-old. What would you tell her?
You're not alone.
Hmm.
You're never alone. You always felt alone. And times when you feel alone now, you're actually very loved, and everything's going to work out okay. I can hear my father. He was a man of few words, few words. And I'd visit him and I'd go out to see him in the garden. And I was in my early 20s, had a breakup with a boyfriend, and where I'm sad and everything's like falling apart, had a car accident, all of these things. He had the simplest of words, and I do my very best to remember them each and every time I'm doubting. And he'd just say, everything's going to work out okay. Everything's going to work out okay. Everything's going to work out okay. And I'd be like, no, it's not. It's like, there's no way. And I'd be like, he would just say those simple words. And for some reason, I'm hearing simple. Because I can be a woman of many words, can flow, and just words, words, words. But I think the inner freedom and everything working out is a feeling inside, a softness, a remembrance to come home to. I'm speaking that to remind myself right here, right now, at this time in my world, even. Yeah.
Any words of wisdom to help us develop more trust in our and listen to our intuition?
Hmm. These are simple words coming through first, so we'll open it up. I'm hearing believe and trust. If something is dropping into your awareness, it's for you. You can absolutely receive it. And less questioning. I don't want to tell you to stop questioning because we're always going to question. However, it's usually the first thought. It's that first information. So if you start to go down the rabbit hole, you start to go down the doubt, come right back to the first piece of information that drops down. Give you an example. Some of my clients have said, well, I'm getting a sense that, a loved one or an angel or something is around me. I'm getting this sensation, but I'm not sure. Is it my father or is it, my brother? Something like that. And they always know in the end. They're like questioning, is it this or is it that? And then they'll go on and say, well, I think it's my dad because, and then they'll literally tell me, well, because I saw this thing that reminded me of my dad or this animal or this correlation that was all, oh, he used to move this thing, used to read a book and that particular book fell off the shelf, or this, I have a lot of clients who come to me because they have moving objects, electricity happenings, a lot of really weird things. That's how my dad first started to communicate. He would move things on my side table. For ever since he passed away, he would move things, meaning turn them around and point the frame in a different direction, or turn a beautiful stone upside down, and it would capture my attention. And so when the frame keeps turning, you're questioning yourself. And it's just like, just go back and go, first thought, it's yours. You can trust it. And then you feel it in your heart. So if you're not sure about something, whether to honor it, then you check back to your heart and it's like a heck yes or maybe a heck no. And if you don't have an answer, that's okay. Just leave it alone for now. It'll come to you and you'll just go, oh, like I did. Remember going back to the radio station? It took day 1, day 2, day 3. And each day I was building more information. Oh, I think that's my cousin Rob wanting to communicate some information to me or let me know he's there. But the day 4, when the radio station changed to a different channel, Chinese, then it all just went, okay, I'm a believer now. So just be patient with yourself as you're. Hope that answered the question. I ended up going in a little bit extra information there for you.
That's perfect. Thank you. And I'm going to ask you one last question. What's the purpose of life?
Non-prepared this one. Yeah. What is the purpose of life? There's a common, many will say to love, but what I'm getting, it's to be experience in our evolution of another life coming in. We're just here to be, to love, to feel. And I think when we're reminded that it is to be our presence just to, I don't want to say like play the game, it's sort of like play the game of life. It is kind of like a game of life, right? And it can calm us because we make it so big. We make everything, I blow things up. I blow things up out of proportion, not on purpose, but I just go and make it a big thing. So less personal, and just be, and just authentically shine who you truly are in this world, because we love you. We need you. Each of your beingness is what matters. Your beingness is what's improving and affecting lives, and you being you and being authentic, whatever that is.
I'm going to end it with the Bhagavad Gita quote. The self of all beings living within the body is eternal and cannot be harmed. Therefore, do not grieve. Thank you for expanding on that with us. I appreciate you.
Namaste to you. So much love to everybody.
Namastizzle. Just know we out here. Know we out here working in a major way. Had to speak on it just to make a break. Any given subject, know we make a way. Time to level up on a day-to-day. Know we out here working for the greater good. Expand your mind, broaden your lens the way you should. From the stars to the galaxy to speak on spirituality. Higher understanding for the neighborhood.